Hey, it's Swagrid here, and I'm toting a beanie for reasons. Shush. So, recently, and by recently I mean like almost a month ago, I did some solves on CubeDesk. I think I did about 250 of them, just to see what it was like, because I'd heard a lot of people talking about CubeDesk, saying that it was a good timer, and that it was the future, and all sorts of stuff like that, so I went to go and check it out myself. So I load onto CubeDesk, and the first thing I notice is that the UI looks sick. A lot of old cubing resources look very outdated, alg sheets and whatnot, and timers as well. CS timer's not bad, but CubeDesk looks better. And after a little bit of poking around, CubeDesk is fairly intuitive to use. It's not hard to import solves from CS timer into CubeDesk, and to customize everything looks quite nice. And the panels that have different information on are fairly easily customizable. This is nice. But if I'm going to talk about CubeDesk, I might as well talk about what it's mainly oriented about. The focal selling point I hear a lot of people talking about. The community. You see, CubeDesk has inbuilt leaderboards. You can submit your session onto leaderboards, it will take your fastest single and your fastest average of 5, and it will put them up there, ranked with every other user that's done the same thing. That's cool. What's even cooler than that is that you can click on somebody who's on there and you can see their profile. They can have a profile picture, a banner, links to socials, a bio, and it has a few immediate fields that you need to fill out. Favorite event, 3x3 method, 3x3 goal, stuff like that. So you click on this and you get immediate information about this person, it's their profile after all, and then underneath it lists all their PBs. It will show the time, it will show an icon for what event it is, and it will say exactly what it is underneath, whether it's, say, the single or the average. Now, this is where my first problem comes in. So if we go onto the community, we go onto someone who's competed in one-handed. Let's pick Kyle 1. I've talked to him in a few Twitch chats, you probably won't mind me stealing his profile. Well, number 1, as we scroll down, there's a few sections that have no visuals whatsoever. Alright, fair enough, they'll probably get added eventually. But my next problem here is this. The icon for 3x3 one-handed is the same as the icon for 3x3. Now, something that's cool about the icons is that they do show the scrambles of the solve itself. And, you know, that's a real small thing, but that's really cool. But here, it doesn't even show that it's one-handed. It just shows another 3x3. This could be really easily remedied. Look at the WCA. They have a little icon that shows a hand hold underneath the cube. If you just add in a little another hand and make the cube logo for the scramble show up on top of that, this problem's solved. My next small nitpick with the profiles is that there's nowhere for you to put your global apart from your bio. But when you're going to make the profile, you're not immediately presented with put your global here. You're told put your goal here and put your method here. I personally would like to be able to know what everyone averages. You know, maybe I'm just nosy like that, but I think that would be a cool stat to have. If you're having people's socials, methods, goals, every PB they have, I think it'd be nice to know their global, you know? Their actual average. But hey, maybe that's just me. CubeDesk has a lot of these really cool small features, like how you can see the scramble in the event icon, and a lot of the small features are found in the settings tab. You can do all sorts of cool small customizations. The freeze time for your spacebar is completely customizable. You have timer decimal points you can customize from 0 through 3. 0 decimal points, and I just get the seconds, I guess. Use spacebar with smart cubes, so you can time a smart cube the same way you would with a normal cube. You can turn on and off confetti for getting a PB. Look, the point is there's a ton of customization on CubeDesk earlier, like the stats panels I mentioned earlier in the actual solving tab. But with all this, I love that there's so many small little details, but there are a few bigger details that I struggle with. Okay, so if you go onto the timer section of CubeDesk, you have these little panels at the bottom. I always have one on show scramble because I like to draw scramble, because I want to do it right, you know? And then I usually have the one on the left onto solves, because I like to see my solves. I'm used to that because of CS timer. So the one on the middle, I'm unsure of what to do, because if I do session stats, it only shows my current averages. So if I want to know my PBs, I have to turn this onto overall stats. There's no option for session PBs. I have to do overall stats and see my PBs there. This mostly doesn't affect anything, but it does show my worst solve as being 34. That's from my Petra session, not from my regular session. Small interjection here, something I noticed while I was recording footage for this. If I go into overall stats, it says that my average of 100 PB is 11.03. That's wrong. My average of 100 PB is 10.99, which I got on CubeDesk. It wasn't a part of the imported solves or anything weird like that. It was just 100 solves, all of which were on CubeDesk, that it's now saying is 0.04 slower than it actually was. This is the same whether I'm in the stats section of the timer or the stats tab. CubeDesk, please fix. So there's no way to actually see just the PBs of this scramble within this area. At least I believe there isn't. On top of this, I'm someone who likes their stats. Every 1,000 solves, I usually post a sit rep in CZ method solvers. You know, my 7,000 solves catch up, 6,000 solves catch up, well, whatever. So I always take a screenshot of that little stats area from CS Timer. It shows all of my averages from single and average of 5 through to average of 5,000. And I screenshot both the current and the PB because I think they're both important. If I want to see the current and the PB, I have to devote one of the tabs that I normally use for either the solves or draw in the scramble to being my current and use the one in the middle as my overall. Not a big fan of that, having to sacrifice something just to be able to see both sets of averages at the same time. But the worst part is the customization in the averages themselves. You get average, which is your total mean. You cannot change it. You get worst, which is worst of. You cannot change it. Look, you only get 7 tabs here. One of them is devoted to best at the top, and you can't change that one either. So that is 3 out of 7 tabs that you cannot customize, and you're just left with the rest of the 4. And then for the rest, you have a choice. Average of 5, average of 10, 12, 15, 25, 50, 100, 250. I use average of 1,000 as a benchmark for myself, which means that when I'm using CubeDesk, I just can't. I just can't, because that number isn't there. It caps out at average of 250, which I've never seen anyone use. It doesn't have average of 500, doesn't have 1,000, doesn't have 2,000. I like those stats. I'm a person who loves just to see those stats, and there just isn't an option on CubeDesk. So what would the next solution to be? Right, well, I imported my session from CS Timer to CubeDesk originally. Now I've done more solves on CubeDesk, so how about I import my session from CubeDesk to CS Timer? You can't do that. Yeah, you cannot bring your CubeDesk solves back into CS Timer. But I did. All 240 odd of them. I typed every single time into CS Timer manually so I could get my average of 1,000, because I crossed a threshold. I crossed the 7,000 solves threshold, and I wanted to give my 7,000 solve report, and consistent lighting. I wanted to give my 7,000 solve report, but to do that I had to type 200 times into CS Timer manually, and I did it, okay? I did it, but I don't want anyone else to have to do that. What if I use CS Timer for a week? What if you use it for a month? Now you have 1,000 solves to type back in, and that's in one session. I left out all my petrol solves because I don't want to spend the time typing those back in too. What if I practice other events? What if I had to type in all my one-handed and scube and pyramid and 4x4 and 5x5 solves? That would be miserable. First call of order, improve the statistics. I don't know an elegant way to implement it given CubeDesk's current AI. I've given it a little bit of thought and I can't think of anything nice. But please make it possible to see your session PB. Lighting. Please make it possible to see your session PBs and your current session average at the same time without having to sacrifice a UI element. And on top of that, bigger averages, please. That being said, only use CubeDesk if you're willing to commit to it, because if you spend like a month on CubeDesk and you want to go back to CS Timer and keep your solves, it's a flag. Although I say I imported back to CS Timer to see cool stats, but there are a lot of cool stats on CubeDesk itself. If you click in the stats tab, you'll see your most common cube type to solve. For me it's 3x3 because I've only done 3x3. It will show you a number of cube types. For me it's 1 because I've done 1. It'll show you the total time you spent cubing, and oh, that's 25 hours, okay. It'll tell you when your last PB was. You'll see graphs of your solves. You'll have a time distribution. Those last two aren't special, you can do those on CS Timer too. You also have this cool trainer tab where you can do trainers for all different ALK sets: OLL, PLL, CLL, CMLL, COLL, all sorts of ZBLL, some 2x2 things. You can also make your custom ones. But my only issue is that I kind of found a way to make a set of them as a custom. Say, if I want to make an entire ALK set, say, last 5 edges for Zipper, it's 12 ALKs. If you make a trainer, you make it with one ALK. One case, one setup, one solution. That's it. If I want to make the other 11 cases, I have to make 11 new trainers. And I might be missing on some features, but I'm pretty sure you cannot make that as a group. You have to just have these 12 trainers just loose, just around. You cannot bundle them together. And the problem with that is if I were to go to train my customs, but say I've installed some other customs, I could be trying to practice last 5 edges and get some random ass case that I don't care about. A lot of these changes are really small and nitpicky, like not having the global on your profile. I do think the profile is really cool actually, it's the closest we have to a cubing social media. But I think if it were to implement a lot of the bigger changes, like being able to see your PBs as well as your current average, having averages higher than 250, maybe up to like 2000, as well as, working on the trainers, I would probably say this is the future. So to conclude, am I swapping to CubeDesk? No. Not yet. If in the future they were to make a couple changes to the trainers and work on the big stats, maybe I would actually consider moving over. But there's still one thing that ticks me off about it. CubeDesk scrambles feel really nice. Too nice. Look, if you're active on Let's Cube, you will know that a lot of people don't count Let's Cube PBs because Let's Cube gives you easy scrambles. A lot of people say it, and a lot of people feel like Let's Cube gives you easy scrambles. CubeDesk gives me the same feeling. I've had way too many generous, nice, just all-around pleasant scrambles for too little sauce on there. I feel like the scrambles on CubeDesk are just nicer, and I don't like that. The reason I went to CS Timer in the first place is because it is the standard for a scrambler. It gives you not only high quality scrambles to a correct degree, but it also has a lot of nice cool features and stats. CubeDesk has a lot of cool features and stats, and it has a community, but the scrambles don't feel right, which I don't like. As nice as all the community stuff is, I don't feel like I want to use a program that gives me easier scrambles. I'm not saying CubeDesk scrambles are easier for sure, I'm just saying they definitely feel that way. So, will I be swapping to CubeDesk at all? Probably not, because if the scrambles keep feeling nice, I'm going to keep feeling bad about using them. But it's very nice, and the community is actually a lot of fun. The whole community tabs, the fact that you can send friend requests to people, the fact that you're on leaderboards, I like it, and it has a lot of cool features. But CS Timer, as of right now, it has better stats displays, and the scrambles are just better.